Hello, this is Usha Pandit, your Mindsprings English teacher. Today, I am going to talk to you about a revolutionary approach to grammar. We have been doing grammar forever. There are a lot of people who think that grammar will make you be able to speak and write better just because you know grammar. A lot of students study for grammar because it gives you marks, but that does not mean that their English will become automatically better. So watch till the end of this video to see what the revolutionary approach is. If you tell schools don't do grammar, nobody is going to listen to you. If you tell them grammar is useless, people will laugh at you. But the way we are doing grammar, if you went to a very high class in the school, like say 11th, and you asked them some complicated grammar, if you asked them to pick out a demonstrative adjective, or you ask them to pick out a demonstrative or a possessive pronoun, a lot of students will have problems. It's not because they haven't done it before, it is because of the way we do it. We do grammar in a linear way. Linear meaning you do noun and then you do all sorts of nouns, then you do all sorts of adjectives. So you're going with a possessive pronoun in grade 4, and then you're going with a possessive adjective in 5, and then you're going with a demonstrative adjective in 6. If you learn it like this, you will never get grammar. So there is a lot of time being wasted on grammar. I would advise you to switch over to this approach of grammar, which gets you to not only learn grammar permanently, but you do it in a very short time. What are your benefits? You will get your grammar straight, which means permanent. You will get a lot of vocabulary building. So children will know a lot of vocabulary. Now children are depending upon their lessons to get their vocabulary. If a word comes in a prose text or in a poem, then they learn the word. Otherwise, they don't learn much vocabulary, right? So there is no chance taking here. This is excellent vocabulary learning. You will do all this wonderful stuff has to transfer into writing. In fact, grammar is the way in which we ask children to write. It's the language of instruction for writing. And finally, oral practice that this book or the series gives you, which is a series, Language with Ease, a series that I wrote because I wanted schools and students to improve holistically all around in their English skills. So you will have oral practice there. Let's look at how it works. It works, you work for about 10 to 12 minutes, but you do it every day. Why every day? Because it is based on frequency. Anything that you revise every day becomes permanent. If you are going to learn Japanese and you say something in Japanese every single day, you will always remember it. After you've repeated it about 20 times, you will never forget that sentence. So why are you remembering that? Because there is frequency. You are repeating it. Similarly, we do grammar with frequency. We will never forget grammar. And that's what I want to show you. So we are going to look at, this is my book, Language with Ease. It's a series that goes from 1 to 7 now, and possibly I will add a 8 to it. But it will give your students excellent control over their sentences. That is what it will do. And they will know exactly what each part of speech, how it works, what those words do for the sentence. If you change them, what happens, all of it. Okay. So let's look at how it works. I've taken a grade 3 very simple sentence for you. Adya told her child a very enchanting story. Simple sentence. But it is without any punctuation. See? So we are going to punctuate it now first. So we make this a capital and then we put a full stop. That's all the punctuation that there is because it's a very simple sentence. As you go into the higher classes, you will get your commas, you will get your speech marks, you will get your colons, semicolons and everything, right? So here we have punctuated the sentence, which is what children will do, and then we parse the sentence. Parsing is taking each word and talking about what part of speech it is. So Adya here will be a proper noun, and you teach children to do PN. Don't make them write long sentences in their books. That is what makes grammar boring, because they write whole sentences, they spend huge amounts of time writing, and then the teacher has to correct all those copies, and grammar simply becomes drudgery. So instead of that, you just put PN, which is proper noun. If you do it, because you are going to do it every day, your children are not likely to forget what PN means. They will all know it's a proper noun. Told is the verb. Her, let us assume they don't know her, you leave it alone. If they don't know it, there is time for them to learn it, you leave it alone. That's what we do in the lower classes. So we go to child and we say that's a common noun. So these are all answers that students will give you. You don't give them, they give you the answers, because they're doing it every single day. Let us assume none of your students know any of this on the first day. You do it on the board the way I am showing you how to, and over a period of time, because you've been doing it every day, students will start calling it out and you know that they know it. You've got a, which is very easy, and it's an article, you put ART, and then you've got very, and they don't know the word, so let's leave it alone. There's story there that says common noun. So you can actually tell students, pick out all the common nouns, and they'll pick out child and story straight away. Okay? And then you've got this word enchanting. Now enchanting there, if you look at ing and say it's a verb, it's wrong, because it is followed by a noun. If you say this every single day to students, because every time in the book, on a daily basis, you will encounter this. So the sentences are made in such a way that this teaching item occurs on a daily basis. So there is absolutely no way that students will not recognize it. So if you say enchanting story, that makes it an adjective. How do we know it's an adjective? We can simply change it into another adjective. So that's one of the rules of the thumb that you teach students, that you can change an adjective to an adjective, and a noun to a noun, and a verb to a verb, right? You can't do anything you like, because grammar is like mathematics. It has rules. So let's change this into an ordinary adjective. We can write there good story, isn't it? But we can also write, here's the vocabulary that I was talking to you about. You can also say interesting story, inspiring story, unusual story, engrossing story, funny story, or humorous story. That's vocabulary. That's fantastic vocabulary. Now, if you put this on your word wall, what happens is, children are looking at it on a daily basis. When they write, you tell them to use one of these words. You say good is banned. No blah words. Only brilliant words. Funny, I don't want funny. I want you to write humorous. I want you to write hilarious. If we use these words in class, students will pick them up very, very easily. So you've got a bunch of words. This is what I mean by vocabulary building, okay? And that vocabulary needs to come into writing by expecting this. So you write this on the board, students will copy it in their books, and they have a bunch of interesting vocabulary to use in their writing. So that's how we do it. So besides this, now this is done on a daily basis. Besides this, you've got questions to answer orally. The entire lesson needs to be done orally, not in writing. You don't have to write because you are going to come across an adjective and a noun and an adverb forever. If you have taught them the adverb, they will recognize this. If you say very interesting story, how interesting? Very interesting. So they will tell you this is an adverb, you put adv. Now if you change the adverb from very, you will say slightly interesting story, somewhat interesting story, intensely interesting story, terribly interesting story. So you will get a lot of verbs there, negative and positive. Give them, they will have extra words and they will start generating words. So the next time they come across very, children are capable of saying extremely interesting, unusually interesting, wonderfully interesting. This is how you build vocabulary. Okay? You have questions where you need to, the book will ask you to make changes. So it says change the adjectives. So what's your adjective there? It's enchanting, and that's where you have changed it into other adjectives, right? You've got sentence to question. Adya told her child a very enchanting story. How would you change it into a question? So you have to make it into a question, you will have to use a question word. Did Adya tell her child a very interesting story? So this did tell is something that your students are practicing for an entire year, and then the next year and the next year they will be called upon to make statements into questions. So that becomes part of their everyday routine, right? Sentence to question. Adverb, we've already talked about the adverb there, very. Subject and predicate. If you've taught them this, then the child knows that the verb and everything after it is the predicate. It's simple. And everything that's before the verb is the subject. Simple definitions. Don't make them write anything. Every day just make them do the subject and predicate for the next 100 days, and students will never forget it. Okay? So you've got subject and predicate, then you've got tense. Change the tense. So now here we've got Adya told, and children will tell you it's a past tense because she told her child the story yesterday, and she will tell a story tomorrow, and she tells a story right now. So you can do your tense work along with the sentence. So it's all done simultaneously. You change the preposition. She told her child a very interesting, enchanting story. Now you ask children, is there a preposition in this sentence? There isn't. So this is something you cannot change. So this is how children learn their basic grammar, a lot of vocabulary. They move it into their writing, and then they have what is called oral practice. In oral practice, you conjugate verbs. So if your verb here is told, you say, I tell, you tell, he tells, she tells, it tells, we tell, you tell, they tell. So you practice this. Now you can change it into past tense, future tense. You can change it into a question. Did I tell? Did he tell? Did she tell? Did we tell? Did you tell? Did they tell? You do this. So this did I told will not happen to children because they are using this questioning tense on a daily basis. They are chanting it. Don't make them write. You will waste time. They will be bored and you will not get anything out of it. Let the tongue move on the language. And finally, you've got pair work, which I love. I would love for parents to be involved and do it at home if possible. And it goes like this. So the pair work goes, it's a little dialogue which says, the thief has stolen our suitcase, exclaimed Sangeeta in shock. A thief has stolen our suitcase. A thief has stolen our suitcase. It's moving the English words around the tongue. They have to say it several times. Just say it and say it and say it until the words start rolling out of the tongue. In shock, Sangeeta exclaimed that this thief had stolen their suitcase, that the thief had stolen their suitcase. The words will not come out initially because the tongue is not used to moving on English words. But if you practice this, if they practice this at home, and what kind of homework do you want in English? Just this. Practice pair work at home is the homework that you should give students. Once they learn the syntaxes of sentences, once the words start rolling out, once they start understanding the inner engineering of language, once they start building vocabulary and using it in their writing, it's going to be a cakewalk. So, switch over to the language with these series if you are a school, and even if you're a parent, make sure you get your copies and you start doing this for 10 minutes a day. Don't stress. If they don't get it, you pass it up and go to the next sentence on the next day. You don't go back to the same sentence. It's not a geography syllabus that you have to finish. It's just practice with sentences. And your students will shine and their writing will improve, and you will have a far more relaxed time celebrating your children's achievements. So I hope you enjoyed that. Do subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you know when I'm putting up videos like this. Make sure you write in the descriptions, you read the descriptions box and go to our link. You write in the comments box and tell me what you think about the lesson and the series. Any doubts, put it in there and I'll solve it for you. So thank you for watching and keep smiling.